where we discuss issues about this thing called life. Thank you, my dear viewers, for tuning into this episode. I invite you to please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and Facebook page. Buhay Parang Life is part of Faith Watch TV, and I ask you to download the Faith Watch app on your mobile device. We read and value your comments, so please feel free to write down your comments and suggestions below. Today's issue, religious art. So we have with us right now, mga kabuhay, a part-time teacher at the university and a Catholic painter specializing in sacred art. Please welcome to Buhay Parang Life, Miss Pia Soriano-Gatdula. Hello, Pia!
Hello!
Ako, Pia, ang lalim nung sinabi ko, nahirapan nga akong tandaan eh. Catholic painter specializing in sacred art. When you say sacred, ano ba yan talaga? Sacred art.
Sacred art. Well, sacred kasi means it's set apart.
Set apart, yes.
So it's not something that you would see everywhere. Hindi siya yung parang pangkaraniwan mo lang makita, just here and there. Kaya siya sacred. So when I use sacred art as a phrase, it's really a special kind of art that I do. Na it's mostly for worship, for veneration. It's really about what people can use to aid them in prayer and contemplation.
Okay, start tayo from the beginning, Pia. You are a painter. Where did you get that gift? Does it run in the family?
Oh, I think si God blessed my father and also my mom with this talent. So when I was growing up, I would see my dad paint. He was an architect and he would paint a lot of watercolor. Ang specialization naman niya is landscape.
Alright.
Painting. And then my mom is very crafty also. She would paint, but then she'd also use her hands a lot to make all sorts of things at home. But I think yung talagang artistic talent, I would say I got from my father's side because even our grandfather was very gifted in visual arts.
Would you remember, kailan yung at what age were you parang able to produce something na real? Na parang, ay, painting ni Pia to. Mga anong age yung talaga parang pwede na i-display?
Like, I think my parents were very encouraging ever since I started playing even with crayons.
Alright.
So, I have a painting of something that I did when I was 5 years old at home.
Ano yan?
Bahay, may coconut, ganyan. It's like very simple. Pero I know na I think it's because of them being very encouraging that made me want to just keep on doing it at the same time because I enjoyed it, of course. So I was maybe 5 years old. Pero yung when you say na, mukhang totoo, I remember doing homework in grade 4.
Grade 4.
And then they asked to draw a fish. Basically, so I drew tilapia. That's like, my science teacher, I remember was saying na parang, you drew this? It's very lifelike. Parang ganyan. I forget her exact words. But parang doon ko na-realize na, oh nga, my classmates don't really draw fish the same way I do. So maybe that's where I realized na, I think I can draw better than others.
When did you start painting sacred or religious drawings?
Okay, that's a good question. I think the pull to draw that or to focus on that came maybe after I did more pilgrimages in Europe. But at that point, I was already doing portraits. I was doing mga landscapes.
So you were doing naman. You did naman non-religious.
Yeah.
Akala ko parang talagang.
But yeah, I think it starts talaga with art in general. Pero ang gusto ko talaga is faces eh. So I did portraits nga. I didn't really do still life a lot. Mostly nga landscape portraits, ganyan. And then I think because I like traveling, yung dad ko one time told me na, do you want to paint for the church? Pero before he asked me to do that, I already was thinking, you know what, the Philippines should have more of these beautiful paintings. Because like when you go to these beautiful churches, you see beautiful architecture, sculpture, paintings, and then I'm thinking, bakit sa Pilipinas wala tayo masyadong ganito?
Doon lang galing. I was about to ask doon ang observation mo, kulang tayo?
Kulang na kulang. Because like when you look at the churches that people flock to, especially in Europe, of course, that's really naman where it all began.
Correct.
Yung tradition. But even here, you have churches in Intramuros, in Pampanga, in Bohol that have very beautiful paintings inside. Pero kulang, like you don't see it all over. Whereas, kunyari in Rome, punta ka sa unknown church here, you see really beautiful paintings na it's not even a tourist.
So doon nang galing na parang, wait, I want to add.
Yeah, it's mostly parang dami nating Catholics in the Philippines.
Correct. At ang daming simbahan.
Ang daming simbahan. And, I just
Oo nga, no? I'm realizing now, correct, wala masyadong paintings.
Diba, paintings and just things that will help you really wonder about, that scene in the Bible, mukhang ganyan. Diba, it will really aid you in your prayer or your imagination mo of the scenes from the Bible, which you really see nga when you go to big churches.
So your dad asked you,
my dad,
do you want to pay for the church?
Kasi that time he was in charge of the renovation of our parish church.
Alright. How old were you then?
I was 31.
So marami ka ng works, but not
at saka ang
religious.
training ko talaga education eh. So I really was in a formal classroom setting for a while. But on the side, I would just really go to exhibits, listen to interviews ng artists. I would just like study on the side. And then parang like, kaya ko gawin yun. Parang ganyan. And then so I also enrolled myself in a certification course in Singapore.
You studied in Singapore. And what is that?
Well, I taught in Singapore. That's where I worked for a time. And then I studied, I enrolled myself in the Nanyang Academy for Fine Arts. So parang part-time yun na. After work, I would go there and then just fine arts. So the basics. And then it was a certification course. Kasi sabi ko, I'm a teacher, but if at one point I want to know how to teach this, it would be good if I was a student first.
Oh yeah, so at the back of your mind, you would also want to teach art.
Yeah. Kasi I know madaming talent in Filipinos. So they just need maybe encouragement and somebody to teach them really the skills.
So, ano yung church na yun? Ano yung ginawa mong painting?
Oh, it's in Holy Family Parish in Capitolio.
Alright.
So this is, I think, 2013 when they consecrated the church.
Okay.
And then, so I painted the painting in Singapore pa.
Why? Because you were
Because I was
based there.
based there. And I think the moment my dad said na, you wanna paint? Parang ako like, yes na agad, bahala na ako makuha ng the
So ano yung
problems.
una mong, ano yung when you wanna paint for the church, ano yung naisip mong image?
Well, he already gave me some parang parameters to work with.
Alright.
So it's gonna be this size, 8 by 8 feet, kasi lalagay nila sa ceiling daw, and then it's syempre Holy Family, so it has to have the Holy Family, but he wanted it to be based on Bouguereau's painting, Song of the Angels. So this is
Tell us more about that, Song of the Angels.
Yeah,
Parang hindi namin
it's
alam
a
yan.
very, I'm sure you've seen it. So, ang image talaga ng original one is si Mama Mary with parang toddler na Jesus sleeping. And then, parang sinaserenade, hinaharana siya ng angels. So, may 3 angels on the side, and then may nag-violin, I think. Basta tulog si Jesus sa lap ni Mary. But then sabi ni Daddy, but maybe you can put St. Joseph there because Holy Family.
I was about to ask.
Yun. So I had to incorporate St. Joseph into the painting. And you know, I always say naman it's not an original. It's really based on something. And I'm really fine with saying that it's not an original because in sacred art then, that's really the tradition. People would copy known works of the masters.
Oh,
And then they would
ganun
put a
talaga.
twist, they would
Mhm.
copy the hands. Parang, like, so if you look at them, parang, ay, nakita ko na yung angle na to somewhere. So,
Alright,
so this one is really definitely not an original, but I think this is where it all started.
Talking about originals, ano yung mga inspirations mo ng mga original paintings na parang you have kind of, hindi naman copied
Yeah,
na
well,
nag-evolve
I think you
with
can
you.
say inspired by.
Inspired by.
Kasi
oo.
nga, like, one more thing I wanted to bring up is sa sacred arts, syempre you have different types or genres, di ba? May parang very early church, iconography, may
yes.
medieval, may Renaissance, Baroque, like iba-iba siya.
Iba-iba.
But you see a common thread running through all of those. And dun ko nga sinasabi na, okay, that's why they copied, but really either they improved on it or they put in something, but without ever sacrificing yung theology. And so this is really interesting kasi when I joined an iconography class, we just copied as in a stencil.
Okay.
So for me, I find it kind of hard to have an original kasi parang what if theologically may hindi tama?
Yun na nga, that will be my next question. So, yung theology should be correct. So, you should be knowledgeable
Yeah.
about the theology
Oo.
of the art.
Which is why it's great na when priests ask me to paint something because they have, hopefully, they have the right theology, catechesis, everything, and they can guide me with ano dapat yung composition. Sometimes they just really ask me to copy an image. Let's say, there's a famous image na Cavite, ay parang Our Lady of Solitude. Sorry, I have to look this up. Parang Porta de Vaga image. And so, one priest asked me to paint that, as in like just really copy it. Kasi if you kumbaga veer away from the composition, mawawala na yung reason why Mama Mary's this way, she's wearing this, may elements na ganito. So, yeah, I either really copy or I just base it on existing compositions.
What is your observation sa mga churches dito na may paintings? Meron ka ba nakikita, ay, parang hindi theologically sound?
Yeah, I think within especially siguro the community of artists specializing in religious art, I think there are people who would tend to be a little bit more of this than, when I say this, it's like probably parang more self-expression, more parang like, okay, I want to do a certain look rather than just stick to kunyari, more traditional ways of depicting something. So for me, it's like, okay, of course there is self-expression, but then if it's inside the church, I feel it, and it's not even a feeling. I know na there are actual documents written to support the idea that it has to have standards.
May standards. Because,
Because,
kasi kung self-expression, baka hindi na siya theologically sound.
Oo, like there is a danger talaga that, you have more of the artist there. Diba?
Correct.
Siyempre, if you're an artist, you want to, in a way, really express yourself. Which is one
Marami
thing
kang
na-
nakikitang ganyan dito. I'm sure you are very observant when you enter a church.
Either that, like talagang todo self-expression, or you want to really just be different from everyone else, or maybe kulang lang sa development ng skill. Which is why really I want to teach, kasi I know, we can develop skills, but if there's no one to help them develop their skills, baka they're just gonna keep on doing the same thing.
Are you already teaching?
No, but I've had several inquiries. Most of the students I get though don't really want to go into sacred art, maybe because it's even ng parents or something, or like how am I gonna express myself through sacred art? I mean, I'd rather just do, abstract or something.
So why? Why for you sacred art?
Kasi there is really a lack of it, I feel, na and I've also worked with architects aside from my father, and then sila rin, I don't, maybe it's just really a handful that they can go to help them with their projects. Whereas, you know, if we have one in every at least province or town, well, they can tap into the local, di ba, community na, and then really the church there will be more meaningful kasi it's actually from a homegrown talent.
Correct.
Whereas, kunyari ako, like, I painted something for vegan, for somewhere in, I think Leyte ba yun? So, parang, pag ako parishioner, parang, okay, saan galing yan? From Manila.
May I ask, how prolific are you? Ilan yung mga production mo, like in a year's time?
I think God just gives me enough na I can handle it. So I wouldn't say I'm very prolific kasi I think unlike, you know, when you look at mga masters, diba, and then they really just do that how many hours a day? 8 to 10 hours a day, yun lang talaga. But ako kasi I don't do that the whole time. I have other responsibilities, of course. So I wouldn't say I'm very prolific, but like in a year I would get several, you know, a handful at least of larger pieces.
Do you have a sample of your favorite works?
Usually something that's really also hard to say. Like, what's your favorite? But it's really hard.
Pero ano yung mga gusto mong i-paint?
Okay. Well, in terms of subject maybe right. I really like yung feel ng oil eh. So anything to do with the more, you know, kind of classical depictions of scenes or saints. Ganyan.
Say that again, of scenes?
Scenes, like scenery.
Scenery. Okay, all right.
Or saints. So ako I like iconography because nga it has its own discipline in itself.
What is iconography?
Iconography is a way of depicting the saints, our Lord, Our Lady, which originated talaga in the early church, and it has its origins, I think, which was inspired by the portraits that they found in Egypt. Yung mga nasa sarcophagus. So it's really a depiction. Kasi icon means image, I think. Eh. So
yes.
Like kasi there's like this whole philosophical, theological, you know, underpinning to iconography. So parang like I only taken mga 4 workshops na intensive here, but I feel na parang I'm barely even scratching the surface. So when people even ask me, can you teach me? Parang I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so not equipped. I'm myself still a student in iconography.
Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah. So it's very different though from oil painting.
Is this a sample of iconography?
So this is what you would call an icon.
Mm-hmm.
It's an icon of Saint Michael, and it's not it's not an oil painting because unlike yung modern day oil paintings that we see now, that's mass produced. It's really made from very natural instruments. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined this workshop, and then all the beginners would have to paint Saint Michael first.
Would you know the reason why Saint Michael first?
Kasi he's like the bridge between mankind and heaven. Something like that. So the next step would be Saint Gabriel kasi he sends a message from God. But of course, like angels are all messengers. But Saint Michael has a very special task of protecting humanity, diba? So we start with Saint Michael, and so yung paint that's used here is not oil. It's actually natural pigments mixed with egg yolk.
Oh really? May egg ito?
Yeah, that's why now for the first few weeks you can't leave it alone kasi baka the insects would go. It's all natural. Like even this part here, which is called the bole, is rabbit skin glue with red earth.
Wow!
And then of course you can't see it now, but underneath there's a layer of linen. Natural linen. Kasi you have, syempre, like when you think of linen, you think of the shroud, and also yung yung swaddling clothes ni Jesus.
Pero that is already like under.
Under,
But
you can
still,
see
it. Is
it.
part.
Yeah, it's really, kaya nga all the process, and then if you look at, this actual material na it's painted on is wood. And it has to have this grain kasi it has a vertical kind of, what do you call that, parang perspective na it's God and man.
So it's like
Like
holistic.
everything talaga has,
Pati yung parts na
pati
people
yung
don't
linen,
see.
yeah,
The
exactly.
linen and even yung hibla.
Right, yeah, the grain that you don't actually see. Even this one, so if you look at the halo, it's not paint, it's actually gold. So this is because you want the best for God, basically. Diba? You want the best for God, and then we have here someone who is in heaven, celestial being. So ang depiction also is like really heavenly. That's why you have gold, ganyan. And then something really interesting about the gold halo is even the cutting of the leaf. Hindi lang siya basta-basta na you just cut. You have to, kasi it usually comes in a square sheet. You cut it in half kasi nga you have the two natures of Jesus. And then that half you cut into three because that's the Trinity. So
Even the
everything,
process?
yeah. Even the application of the gold leaf, which is very interesting because underneath this red bowl is under this halo, which you have to burnish until it becomes very shiny.
Alright.
And I think also because of chemistry, it will really adhere. The gold leaf will adhere to it more.
So this is an example of iconography.
Iconography.
So mahirap yan gawin.
Mahirap, tedious, mabusisi.
Right.
And also you have to really follow instructions. So for example, yung halo nga, when you apply it onto the bowl, you have to breathe because it will create moisture, and then that's how it sticks. Pero when you're doing that, you're also thinking about God breathing life into Adam. So and when there's like an encounter of the human with the divine, that's why you have the clay and the gold.
So it is a prayerful
Exactly.
process.
It's a very meditative, prayerful, contemplative. Every step.
Full of theology.
Full of theology, exactly. So I think, because I only got into iconography years after I started sacred art.
Alright.
So of course, like sacred art, okay, I would paint in oil, I would see works of the masters. But then when I did this, I'm like, okay, this is an entirely different level of working with paint. And so, dun ko nakita na, that's why the depiction of the Annunciation, for example, they always show Mama Mary seated and not kneeling down. Whereas now, if you look, at the more modern depictions, it can be...
So why is she depicted always as seated?
It's because she is the queen of the angels.
So she's seated as a queen?
Yeah, at saka parang kumbaga yung level niya is higher than the angels. Like, of course, I'm saying it very poorly, but I'm sure other people could explain it better. Pero that's what I got from them saying, something as simple as that. You can't just...
Are there many iconography icons like these in our churches? And like, how many of you do this? Like, wow, this is tedious.
I think because it's mostly the Orthodox who kind of perfected it. But of course, back then, when you were all the one, we would have these also in our churches. And now I think you rarely see an actual icon only because it's not archival. Baka may insects na like it's very prone to decay, I think.
So this is prone to decay.
In the sense nga na if you don't
So
take
where
care
is
of
this
it,
usually placed or kept?
if you go to from Orthodox churches, you see it there. But I think it's because nga they see it all the time. They would notice kung kailangan na linisin,
Correct.
So, but I think in Tarlac, if I'm not mistaken, the cathedral in Dagupan, may acrylic though, I think, icons or icon-inspired na nasa ceiling siya.
How many of these have you produced as an artist?
Oh, well, only through the workshops. I've only had
Through the-
4.
Oh, because videos, huh?
Oo.
So this is Saint Michael.
Saint Michael,
And what else do you have?
Saint Gabriel,
Uh-huh.
and then I did Pantocrator, which is Jesus as a yung depiction with him na very stern looking as a
Okay.
judge.
What do you call that?
Pantocrator.
Okay, first time I'm hearing that word.
And then the last one was Saint John the Baptist.
Kasi yun yung ano, yun yung
Progression.
progression.
Actually,
Is it
Actually,
has to be that?
at least for the angels. Alam ko si Mama Mary could have been somewhere there, except like I skipped a year or something and they said, sige, join na lang this batch.
Alright.
Something like that. Pero I definitely Saint Michael, Saint Gabriel. Last na actually si Jesus dapat. But you know, because of something to do with my batch.
Where you're coming from, do you feel a certain disappointment in the arts that you see in our churches?
Well, I would say parang more of I guess disappointment kasi nga I know that there are a lot of talented Filipinos.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes the people that they would get are I don't know how to describe, but parang the people they would get, maybe they I'm not even sure if they're, let's say, practicing Catholics. For example,
Nakikita mo yun sa art?
Medyo.
Kung hindi practicing or very
Hindi naman sa practicing or what, but
orthodox.
kumbaga, like, you would get, kasi, okay, to take a side note,
Alright.
when I joined iconography, the workshop, we were all beginners when I did this. I think maybe a few lang na did it twice already. So all in all, talaga, we were doing St. Michael, all the beginners. And I was probably maybe me and like another one who was into the arts. The others were just, trying their hand, housewives, students, yuppies. And then there was like I think a nun, or somebody in the consecrated life. So everybody did the same.
Alright.
But then you'll see talaga the person's work kind of stand out if you know that person is really doing it with devotion.
Devotion.
Yeah, like talaga may inner quality siya na lalabas kahit na hindi technically super perfect.
Yeah. But there is something.
And I think, like when you look at medieval art, hindi naman anatomically perfect, diba? Hindi naman, sometimes it's too long or something. Pero na, especially if, let's say, the monks did that, that they were doing it out of reverence, with prayer, devotion, sacrifice, like all those things, it really comes out.
You are a very reverent and devout woman.
It should show, right? But
Has your art really added to that? How has it changed you as a Catholic?
well, art in general, I think, would make you more patient. Because, syempre, especially if you have certain standards that you want to meet, you will really, try your best to reach that goal, diba? Even if it takes how long, spend how much, whatever, like get the right pigments. So there's that, like may element of sacrifice. You give what you can to attain something. So that's art in general for me. But then for sacred art, knowing that first of all, God gave you this talent. What are you gonna do with it? There's that element, and then people are going to see this. Are they going to be edified or repulsed by it? So, diba, parang like
Right.
there's so much hanging in the balance, or like it's so consequential. Kasi if I get paid for it, I mean, what is that compared to like the more spiritual kind of product that they would get out of it?
Pia, this is CBCP, Office of Media Affairs. So I hope the bishops, many priests are watching. What is your hope for sacred art in the Philippines? And what is your call to our clergy? Whatever. What is your hope?
Well,
Yung sana ganito ang makikita natin.
Well, first of all, I'm happy that I have worked with priests who recognize that they should not scrimp on art.
Alright.
Because of course, there's always lay people who would say naman na, magkano naman yung
Ang mahal
ginastos niya for that?
naman, art lang,
Ganun,
painting
ganun,
lang.
that, right?
Okay.
I mean, you would always have that. And of course, you have the Bible to go to, right? I mean, what is it with, diba, si Jesus and I think si Judas was the one who said, like, shouldn't we have just used that for the poor or something?
Oh, yeah.
And so there's that, and you always give your best to God, and I think it's nice that there are some priests who really recognize the fact that there are things that are not materially, kumbaga, yung value of something is not just seen in the material world, but also in the spiritual world. And so I'm hopeful because there are priests like that. But maybe sometimes I also think maybe they also need to know that the church has standards. There are documents about sacred art, the use of, it's not even just art, it's like music, right? The things that we use in church.
Yes.
There are actually things that the popes have said in the past that I also use as a guideline. I mean, even just looking at the Pope John Paul II and Pope Benedict XVI's letter to artists, it's already
They have a
very,
letter to artists?
Yeah, they
and
have.
what does it say?
It's a call to artists, basically, to use your God-given talents, to give back, and to further the kingdom of God here on earth for the church.
Right.
And you should just read it. I think anyone who's interested in this, because they're very rich in meaning. It's very inspiring, and so I think especially parish priests who want to make their churches
You want to
nicer.
renovate them.
They want to have an imprint of something there, or leave their parishes better at least. I think it's a very good way to kind of improve their parishes. One more thing that I like about sacred art in comparison to we call profane art, kasi nga that's the opposite of it, like it's just for everyday use, is that something na beautiful can be accessed by everybody in the church. It's like everybody's ownership in a way.
Right.
Whereas if you look at fine art, you have to go to a museum, you have to go to these like fancy exhibits.
Right.
Diba? But then in a church, anyone can go and really be enriched and be edified by what they can see.
All right, Pia.
See.
Final words to our viewers. We have lay people, we have priests who are viewing this, maybe even artists.
Well, I think as an artist, I really would like to send out a message to everybody, not just priests and not just those who go to the church regularly. Maybe for priests, you can really see yung talent around you and ask about who's up and coming there and really encourage these people. At the same time, look at like a lot of mga resources about how sacred art is used in churches, because there are really standards. And then for the lay people, I think syempre we're all owners of the church in the sense that like when we want to see some improvement, we give, we donate, ganyan. So try to really support those people who have a genuine love for really seeing to it that sacred art has a place in worship, and also it's the kind of sacred art that the church can be proud of, and not just because it's from this famous artist, for example. So it's really something that even if you don't know who the artist is, you'll still be drawn to it in a very reverent way, and it would help the prayer as well.
Right. Wow.
So maybe that's it.
Thank you, Pia, for this interview. Thank you for sharing your art, your thoughts in this program. Thank you, my dear viewers, for watching. This is Rita Dayri reminding you today, haba-habaan pa ang pasensya sapagkat ang buhay parang life.